This episode is pre-recorded, so if you're listening to this, it's probably July 3rd or July 4th, so happy July 4th to all the Americans out there, or just happy July 4th to anybody. And yeah, so if we get anything wrong in this episode, it's because it's pre-recorded. So yeah, hope you enjoy.
Hello everyone, welcome to the CuberCast Podcast, where we talk about what's happening in our universe of cubing. I'm Carter Cubes on Twitch and YouTube.
I'm Humble Cuber on Twitch and YouTube.
And I'm Carter Kid on Twitch and YouTube. In today's episode of the CuberCast Podcast, we will be talking about how the pandemic has affected cubing and our lives.
So before we hop into our personal experiences with the pandemic and cubing and stuff, so let's just basically to go over what the pandemic has meant for cubing in a whole. So basically, most cubers already know about this, but basically comps got shut down. Online comps became a huge thing. Now competitions we see are coming back. We actually have a whole episode on that if you want to go ahead and check that out. And basically, yeah, we're just going to go into that first.
So, as of our recording date, no competitions have been held in the US. There's one back to Cambridge that's very, very soon as we're recording this. It's probably already happened. Just let us know how it went if you were there. But, yeah, that's kind of the elephant in the room. There's been no competitions ever since March. And that's a very long time. That's been over 1 year. So it's definitely given a very big hit to the cubing community. I just don't. It will rebound. There's a lot of competitions being scheduled. We talked about that in our episode 8. So yeah. I guess
when you think about it, what's happening with the competitions coming back now is mainly happening inside the U.S. So it wasn't really as massive a blow to cubing that the U.S. has comps in so long. We are just like a small portion of the whole cubing community as a whole. Places like Australia, China and stuff have actually been having competitions back for a while now, and then some other places as well. But now they are coming back to the U.S. But I don't know where I was going with that. Just like cut off that last part.
Yeah. So it's definitely it hasn't really hurt the cubing community, but I know that there's a lot of people, including actually a couple delegates, that kind of lost motivation because there's no competitions. Like obviously the delegates, they have no work, they have other life stuff to do. It kind of the pandemic just opened up like a lot of free time for everybody, and we also lost a lot of stuff of it, which we lost pretty much the only thing that counts, cubing competitions. A lot of other countries are bounded, just like what Humble Keeper said, but the US is taking, at least it did take a long time, just because of the COVID recovery. So, yeah. HK, any thoughts?
I think it did have, for some people it had a negative impact, because, the only way they could, display their cubing skill was in competition, and without them, it kind of loses motivation for a lot of people, so a lot of people quit cubing because of the pandemic. However, the pandemic is when I really, really got into cubing. So from April of 2020 until now, in my 3x3 session, you probably all have heard me say this a bunch of times, but I have close to 50,000 solves in my 3x3 session in CS Timer, and that's because over the pandemic I was just doing a lot of solves, and yeah, it's cool to see how far my average dropped. And yeah, the pandemic let me practice a lot more than before. So yeah, I think it had some negative impact on cubers. It obviously had a negative impact on the whole country. Tons of people died. It's a tragedy. But for cubers as a whole, I think it opened up more opportunities to practice, but less opportunities to show your skill.
I definitely agree with that. So one thing, or one of the things, if not the only thing, that was kind of good that came out of the competitions being canceled were actually online competitions. Now, these online competitions were helpful for people all the way across the world, and also people inside the US who maybe were in situations or areas where competitions were not really possible for them. They couldn't really make ends meet to either get there, or they weren't in an area that hosted competitions. So online comps definitely allowed more people to interact with cubers across the globe, sometimes even locally in their area through online competitions. Even though the results weren't necessarily official, it seemed that it was definitely good.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back to what KTK said. The pandemic was definitely, it was the reason why I started cubing. I picked up a cube out of curiosity because it was in my room while I was cleaning up pandemic spring cleaning stuff. I saw a cube and I had a bunch of free time, so I solved it with my dad. My dad kind of forced me to do that. But that's a whole different story. So it's definitely opened up a lot of things, online competitions, just like as Humble said. I've organized 5 not cubing, just like online competitions, and I've helped with 2 or probably more, but I think it's 2. So yeah, definitely I think that the online competitions, they aren't the same as cubing competitions from what I understand. I've never been to a cubing competition, or at least an official one, so yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Cubing competitions, like online competitions, the only time that I've heard somebody actually cheated in an official competition was the Martin Telesforo 4.41, was the fake world record in comp, but online competitions opened up much more opportunities to cheat. But yeah, online competitions opened up more flexibility, however, it gave more opportunities to cheat, which was unfortunate.
Well, something good that most cubing competitions, online competitions that is, were actually doing was they actually had people send in top amount of people, like for cubing at home, and it was the top 8 or top 12, I don't quite remember. They had to actually send in the video of them, uncut video, of course, because it's pretty easy to cut a video and cheat on that. Of them basically opening up the scrambles, doing it, showing the times on screen. So that's the way they can prevent cheating. I myself was actually on one of the teams that checked for cheating for an online competition. So I definitely know that it is a way that you can kind of prevent cheating, but there are going to be some of those people who, because nobody's watching, they feel like, hey, maybe I can take a second or two off what my average was. And they're kind of not super high up there, so nobody really notices. But yeah, they're still kind of fibbing on their times just because, hey, nobody's watching. This is not an in-person competition. I can just do this because I'm by myself and nobody will even know.
So, yeah, I am very aware of, like, the cheating and everything. I've organized 5 cubing competitions. I've had probably too many cheaters. So, there's this one guy, he cheated pretty much a lot in cubing competitions, but then he admitted it, which I think was pretty brave of him to do because it's really hard to admit something like that, that big, sort of, like, kind of like high stakes. And now we're actually good friends. I think we're all good friends with him. So, yeah. And during keeping at home 2.4, yeah, keeping at home 2.4, I actually got top 5 in kill minks, which was really exciting for me. It still is. I can't believe that I placed top 5 in a competition like keeping at home. So yeah, it's definitely given me some confidence, despite there not really being any other like real competitions.
Basically, I was one of those people who hopped basically from year to year, maybe even sometimes month to month, from different hobbies. So I've done this basically my whole life, just hopping from hobby to after I get bored of a hobby, then I move on to the next one. I actually first got a Rubik's Cube about 5 years ago, and then I actually got my first Speed Cube the year following after that. And then after I've got that, I kind of did switch around hobbies, but I kind of always kept cubing as one of those hobbies. So even when I was switching, cubing was always kind of a constant there. So I have been cubing for about 4 years. I have taken a break, but throughout basically almost that whole time, except for that small, maybe 6 month break in there, cubing just been one of the constant hobbies. Kind of stuck with me. It's just been super fun. Great getting to know people inside the cubing community. Sad in-person competitions are gone, but happy they're coming back. It's a great place. I've been to a competition before. Great place to meet other cubers that have the same hobby as you. Cubing has been great. Helped meet some new people. I think I already said that. And yeah.
Got to know a lot of nice people over the pandemic, and they're some of my best friends now, which is really cool.
Okay, so this is like really big to me because I started cubing in March of 2020. The pandemic was pretty much the only reason why I started cubing. If the pandemic never happened, I wouldn't be here, like, at all. Um, Basically, it was just, I kind of learned, I don't know, it was just learning, like, a bunch of stuff, like, it was, my remote year in March through June, it was, like, really easy. So, yeah. And then summer happened, it wasn't really that exciting, it was just more grinding 3x3, because that's really the only cube that I practiced at the time. And then in September, school started, and then in October, I just, it was just mentally a really, something was really crushing. It's still very personal to me to this day, and it was just really crushing. And I kind of felt sad, and it's kind of it's pretty personal. I'm not sure if this is the right setting to talk about it, but yeah, it just wasn't a good time. But then I kind of moved to Discord, and that's where you guys come in. You guys been some of the best friends I could ever ask for. So, oh no, okay. So, yeah, it's been a very tough year, but at least last year was a very tough year. This year looks great, but I don't want to jinx myself. So,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, Carter and I, we both had both of our COVID vaccines, and
yeah.
today is actually my 2-week date after my second shot, so I am fully vaccinated, which
Oh
is
yeah, congratulations! Yeah,
yeah,
congratulations.
thank you. So yeah, I'll be able to, go back to society, and I'll still wear a mask on like planes and public transportation and stuff, but it's good to know that I'm vaccinated and I can, go back to sort of more or less some semblance of normalcy, which is really nice.
Yeah. I'm fully vaccinated too, just like KJ said. I'm still gonna be wearing a mask most of the time, but I'm gonna be a little bit more relaxed about it because I'm not germaphobe, but I'm really kind of concerned about COVID because, like I don't
Yeah,
trust
same.
people. I'm very insecure. So, um, yeah, it's pretty. I'm still gonna wear a mask, but if you see me, say hi or not because I'm scared to meet fans in person. So yeah, thank everybody for listening to CuberCast Podcast. We're on a lot of platforms. We can't count anymore. So yeah, but definitely Spotify and YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do a lot of stuff there. Please join our Discord server. I think it's in the description somewhere or the about section of our pages. So thank you guys so much for watching, and see you next time. Oh, and also happy July 4th too. So happy July 4th to all the Americans. Sorry, Canadians, and literally everyone else who lives in the world. It's just something called American Pride. So yeah, thank you guys for watching.